write a bit. As and when needed, I will explain. Start with this. We have actually gone through it yesterday. Just want you to note some pointers. It will be very easy. And how many of you have seen this year the prelims? How many have gone through the prelims? How many actually appeared for it? Anyone who appeared for prelims exam this year? You did. Just one. The remaining, have you seen the paper? So did you come across a lot of non-English terms in history? There were, fair enough, modern also was. Like these are the non-English terms that they ask you on. Like in ancient history there is a lot of Prakrit and Sanskrit terms. In medieval history there is a lot of Arabic and Turkish and Farsi as well. And in modern India, again the same extension, because English took the reins from Marathas and Mughals. So Marathas and Mughals almost share the same administrative structure. In fact, one of the downfall, Marathas could not take on the entire India post Mughal because they suffered from the same maladies which Mughals did, that we are going to study right now. So all these terms like Chaud, Sardeshmukhi, Khalisa, Kharaj, all these are very, very important. So please, when you come across any such term, by writing it down, just underline it so that you will remember it. You need to know the term, you need to know the meaning of the term and the context in which it was used. Okay? So we'll start with this. Write some lines that Aurangzeb died in 1707 and then succeeded by his 65-year-old son, who took the title of Bahadur Shah I. Bahadur Shah I. Aurangzeb's divisive policies. Aurangzeb's divisive policies led to a rapid decline of Mughals. particularly the religious policies, that alienated the Hindus. Change the line, right? Second line, or you can give second point or whatever bullet points you want to, and write his expansionist military campaigns. His expansionist military campaigns, where we have discussed it yesterday. Against the states of Bijapur and Golconda. Where are these two states? But the Mughal Empire that we are talking about, if you see that as reference, it will be in that times Western India, not in South India as of now. Okay. Bijapur and Golconda, and against the Marathas, also weakened the empire. The Marathas engaged into guerrilla warfare. By 1738, Marathas were raiding Delhi. Marathas raided Delhi. Same line you continue. What about this gentleman? Nadir Shah? Any idea? I think we have not discussed him. Nadir Shah was from Persia. Persia is Iran. So he came when Muhammad Shah was ruling Delhi. Muhammad Shah had a nickname. Anyone? He was called as Muhammad Shah Rangila or Rangila Pia. He was a great dancer, as good as Madhuri Dixit, and he used to engage all his time in these things. So when Nadir Shah invaded India, he actually ransacked the entire Delhi and the adjacent areas. Now, Mohammad Shah was actually, and Nadir Shah did not stay. He went after 2 months, he rooted a law, he went there. Now, how many of you have been to Delhi? Been to Old Delhi? Apart from that Chandni Chowk area, right? So, if you explore it a little, you will come across a place that's called Sunehri Masjid. Everyone, still there. Nadir Shah ordered what is called Katleam for 3 days. Some of his soldiers were roaming around, like you people were, and the locals attacked. The locals attacked and the soldiers were beaten black and blue. And there was a rumor that Nadir Shah has died. So locals were very happy. And when you catch the enemy soldiers and you outnumber them, so this is what happened to them. They came back to the palace and Nadir Shah became very angry. He said, I'm going to kill everyone. So he went to the Sunehri Masjid, he went to the rooftop, and this is what he ordered, Katleam. Everyone, whosoever comes in front should be slaughtered. So that lasted for 3 days, and he was personally supervising the same from that Sunehri Masjid. Still very much there. The tomb is a bit golden. That's why it's called Sunehri Masjid. So, you see, attacks from Marathas were happening regularly. By 1738, Marathas would reach Delhi and raid Delhi at will. Okay. Then, same year, Nadir Shah comes. Okay. So, right in the same line, the Persian king Nadir Shah invaded Delhi in 1738-39. And gave decisive blow to the Mughals. Gave decisive blow to the Mughals. So are you understanding this, that the attacks that the Mughals have to undergo right now, within and outside of? There are invasions, there are conspiracies, empire is trembling, there is no good administrator that is there, right? So this very topic, whatever you have written, I guess half a page or maybe 1 page, depending on the font that you are using when writing. So these are the attacks. This is just one point. But whenever you write an answer, do not yes, Marathas were attacking. No, there were attacks from Sikhs also, from Jats also, which you shall see subsequently, not during the same era. Now, when you cover the threats to the empire from invasion, you have to talk about Marathas and Nadir Shah because they were happening simultaneously. They share the same era. This is how you write answers in history. Are you understanding it? Knowing things is equally important than how you present the things. Okay? Next point you write. Mohammad Shah. Yeah, see, again, that's one issue. Actually, many things are happening simultaneously. Now, the later Mughal era, the multiplicity of characters, what happens is if I start discussing everything simultaneously, everyone will be confused. So I am taking one thing at a time. Okay, the Mughal inheritance, we are coming to it right now. Then you will understand how it happened and why. Now the Marathas are also ready, Nadir Shah is also coming, Mughal war of succession is also happening. Okay, Europeans are also coming. Europeans are already there, but we are not seeing it because we are concentrating on the downfall of Mughals. Once things are completed, then you will understand and appreciate it in entire context. Okay, let us first try to understand Mughal generosity. So second point to write, and make a flowchart that will make things easy. His name was Muazzam actually, and he took the title Bahadur. Bahadur Shah won it. 17 to 7, he becomes the king. Now he will have 4 offspring. Just write these 2 names for now. Zahandar Shah, Rafiuz Shah, first 2 sons. Azimul Shah, and the 4th one is, all of you can see, people in the back, Zahan Shah. Still, he died in he ruled for these many years. So he had 4 sons. Now you will see the bitter war of succession that will happen between the Mughals. So all 4 will fight each other. N is N. The way they chose to name themselves. So everyone will fight each other. Like a quarter final where there are 4 teams, and it's an open series. Whoever wins will go to the next stage. So this guy will emerge victorious. Zahandar Shah. All of you have noted it? Now just draw an arrow and write becomes king. Zahandar Shah के नीचे आप लिख लो becomes king. Now he did not become king on his own. He was a very weak ruler, not a very strong man of character, someone who should not be the king. So there was someone must have been helping him. How could he emerge victorious if he was such a worthless guy? There was some powerful stuff behind him. So that powerful stuff was Zulfikar Khan. He became king with the help of Zulfikar Khan. Write it down. He became king with the help of Zulfikar Khan, a powerful noble. Noble, you understand? Having some post in the court. Having some post in the court, was a powerful ruler at the time of Muazzam or Bahadur Shah. Right? Now, he helps this guy, one of the sons of Muazzam, to become king. He was rewarded with the post of Wazir. Understood? Because Jahandar Shah made him wazir. Okay. Wazir means the deputy. Next. Something what Chanakya was in the court of Chandragupta. But Chanakya was actually the one who groomed Chandragupta, right? Next in command, deputy PM, you can say. Amit Shah. Okay. So Wazir means the prime minister to the king, the second in command. So he became Wazir. Now, if you do not understand, please underline it. You will remember the second most important person. He is the de facto leader. Understand this term, de facto and de jure? Now, do you remember the policies that Aurangzeb was following? He was against everyone except for the Sunnis. Right? He even had this Tajia position was banned, the Shia Muslims, Hindus, irrespective of whether they were Marathas or Rajputs or maybe Sikhs, he was against them. Okay, so Bipin Chandra writes in modern India, and if you want, I can send you the book. I have already sent medieval history in one of your group, I guess. I'll send the modern one also. For him, India was Darul Harb. What is that? The land of the Kafirs, the land of the infidels. And he wanted to convert it into Darul Islam, the land of the believers. This is what Bipin Chandra writes in the NCRT about Aurangzeb. So, you can note these two terms. However, इस सब टेबल में आप लोगों को पढ़ना ही पड़ता है. Darul Harb to Darul Islam. So when such policy will be pursued in a country where most of the people follow Hinduism, of course confrontations are going to happen. Right? Mughals and Sultans took pride in assuming the title of, anyone knows the meaning? Shikhar, destroyer of idols. Destroyer of idols. मूर्ति तोड़ने वाला. They assumed title like Ghazi. Ghazi क्या होता है पता है? The one who kills the kafir. So when such policies will be state sponsored, Aurangzeb was the state, such policies will be state sponsored, of course it will antagonize majority of the section. Now this guy ruled for, Muazzam ruled only till 1712, right? So he had no time to even think of these things. And very soon we will discover that Muazzam was not very, kind of able to consolidate his position, because others were trying to do things that wanted to unsettle him after Aurangzeb. Now, four of his sons fight amongst each other. One son is helped by a noble. The noble is the de facto leader. Now, Zulfikar Khan was an intelligent man. He realized that India could not be ruled might dream of Darul Islam from Darul Harb. So he will have a very reconciliatory approach. What does that mean? He will try to be friendly with the Rajputs, Marathas, Sikhs. Okay, he will kind of reverse the policies of Aurangzeb. Okay. So this guy, he will do everything. He will not. He is just for the namesake. Now Mughals are for the namesake. Mughal have the lineage, the Timurid lineage. That is it. I told you they were a crossbreed of Genghis Khan and Tamerlan. So they use this Timurid lineage. Often you will hear Tamur ke Vanshaj. Okay. Even in the magnus opus of Mehboob Khan, the movie Mughal-e-Azam, I don't think any of you have watched it, right? So there is one scene where Akbar says that Tamur ke Vanshaj with pride. So the Timurid lineage was there just for the namesake. It were men behind the scene, nobles, a powerful group of nobles. Understood all of you? So he will have Zulfikar had a reconciliatory approach towards the Rajputs, Marathas and Sikhs. Now, friendly and policy, right? Kind of very, very friendly policy. So what he did under those friendly policy, there has to be certain solid stuff to be done. I am your friend, hey. Not like friendship where you go and tie a knot. No. So what he did, some places it's written with Z and with J, don't worry, just pronounce it correctly. Abolished jizya. First thing. You know what was jizya? Tax for a non-Muslim in order to survive. Now, who introduced jizya? Muhammad bin Qasim, 711 CE, after he defeated Raja Tahir. Then during Khilji's time it was collected separately. Do you understand this? All of us pay tax. Do you know this? How many of you have ever filed your income tax? The others? Next door? All of you are paying tax. The indirect taxes. Right? Can you give an example? Yes. The biggest one. But if you are told separately, if now the tax are all inclusive, right? You avail the service, you pay the tax, you don't even know. You pay the surcharge, you don't even know. But when it is specifically written, 1% cents for Swachh Bharat, you feel it, yeah, why? And every time this 1.5% was increased to 2%, I guess. So people were like, Arun Jaitley is always bringing this, because Mr. Jaitley was doing these things at that time when he was the finance minister. So when tax is specified separately, you face the heat. Khilji started collecting jizya separate. अलग से बता कि तुमसे जजिया टैक्स लिया जाता है, right? Akbar abolished it with certain conditionalities. Okay, so one solid step is taking. Now there was this one ruler, Jai Singh of Affair, Rajasthan, a Rajput king. He was given title Mirza Raja Sawai Singh, write it down. And he was also governor of Malwa, trying to be friendly with the Rajputs, giving honorary titles, giving good posts. Then there was Ajit Singh, another Rajput of Marwar. Rajputs were all feudal, kind of. You understand what is feudalism? Feudal-based polity. Samant, have you heard this term? How many of you know about Samant? Okay, remaining who don't know, you will read these things in medieval history. I shall not go into that. Rajput कहानी अलग बनती है. 2-3 क्लास में देगा उसी को. So leave that to medieval history. For the moment, you just understand that he also gave Ajit Singh, the ruler of Marwar, the title of Maharaj. Okay, so Mirza Raja Sawai to Jai Singh and Maharaj to Ajit Singh. Marwar and he is from Ambed. Okay, note it down. And he was also given a post. He was made governor of Gujarat. Okay. Fine. Can I come the upper part? All of you have noted all these things? Any questions till here? Anyone? No questions? Everything is alright? Zulfikar is trying to rule Hindustan the way it should be ruled. Right? So of course others will have an issue. And Zulfikar has helped him to become the king at the cost of these three, right? Either in prison or killed. Now, Farrukhsiyar, remember this name. Again, a very idiot type of guy, not a able ruler, but he will defeat Jahandar Shah. He is son of Azim Shah. So, Chacha, right? Jahandar Shah is his Chacha. So he will defeat his Chacha. Now he was also a Nepoku. He is also an idiot. So how does one idiot defeat the other? Huh? With the help of? With the help of? Sayyid brothers. They are known as, in the history of India, modern India, they are known as kingmakers. Okay, Sayyid brothers. So he defeated and he has to take care of another kingmaker, right? And killed him also. You know how he killed him? Now, next time when you see something, or just to tell you, the way he killed his uncle, he was beheaded, which was a normal thing at that time. It was like Phansi right now, the hanging by death. Medieval era and the advent of modern era was like that only anywhere in the world. The guillotine machine was introduced during the French Revolution because other methods of killing were very brutal. So guillotine was brought. It will fall into your neck, and before you could feel the pain, moksha mil jayega aapko. Mukti mil gayi. Right? So, and guillotine was known as national razor in France. It was called a national razor. We have the impact of guillotine in Indian Constitution, where, how? There is a motion called guillotine motion. There are several motions, we'll study them in Indian government and politics, that when a certain bill is being discussed, I'm just debating a little bit because this is also in our syllabus only. See, general studies is very, there is so much of overlapping. So much of overlapping. Polity has never evolved out of its own. It's not a spontaneous combustion. Whatever progress humans have made, it is reflected in law and legal jurisprudence. It has taken years, centuries. So there is a history which goes side by side with the polity. You understand history, you will know why such thing has happened. The rationale behind the thing. So whenever a bill is being discussed and the presiding officer says now put it to vote, then the guillotine motion, the discussion is ending, cut short the discussion, bring the motion to vote, bring the thing to vote. Enough of discussion we have had, now the voting will happen, so guillotine. Okay, guillotine motion. We'll discuss it again when we will study IGP and I'll ask you whom you'll answer. Okay, if you can answer then this exam is for you. If you can recall what guillotine motion is, after maybe good 2 to 3 weeks, we'll see. So he was beheaded and his head was fixed on a huge bamboo. That bamboo was on the top of the elephant. The executioner, the Jalad, sat on an elephant, and he was having that bamboo like this. And he paraded the entire Red Fort area. And his remaining body was on another elephant. Interesting, right? What a scene it would have been. The former king, the severed head is being paraded on top of an elephant on a bamboo stick by the executioner, and the remaining part, the torso, is on top of another elephant. This is what Khadija did to Jaja. Okay? Now he killed both of them, like Farrukhiyar killed Zulfikar Khan and Jahandar Shah. They were Sayyid brothers, Abdullah Khan and Hussain Ali Khan. What their names? They were given the post. After Farrukhiyar became king with their help, they were given the post of Wazir and Mir Bakshi. Mir Bakshi is another post. There were 7 to 8 important posts. Wazir was on the top, next in command to the king. There were Mir Bakshi, Mir Dola, Nazimul Shan, and this Qazi, the Chief Justice, the civil study in Indian history. There were 7 to 8 type of such things. Okay, so you see, until what we have discussed, Muazzam succeeds. Come on, speak. Don't look at your notes, look here. Muazzam succeeds in the title he takes after his death. Who becomes the king? With the help of Jahan Shah is defeated by his nephew. The name of the nephew is? Who helps Farooq Siyar? Sayyid brothers. The names Abdullah Khan and Hussain Ali Khan. Sayyid was the initial prefix. Now they fix the king and the kingmaker. Wazir and the king. Zulfikar and this guy. Jahandar Shah. Now again, Farooq Siyar is not the king, Sayyid brothers are the king. Okay, and Sayyid brothers were the last hope of the revival of Mughal Empire. They were the last hopes of the revival of Mughal Empire. Just like Zulfikar, he was killed because of rivalry, not because of any ideology or some other things. So they were the last hope and they will follow the same policy which Zulfikar was following. In fact, they will be more generous. Okay. They will even collaborate with the Marathas. So both these people knew that Zulfikar and Sayyid brothers that India will not be ruled by waging a war against the majority Hindu community. They have to be taken into confidence, they have to be given good post. Only then the empire would survive. Okay. Understood? Change the parent right. Farooq Siyar was incapable. And Sayyid brothers were the actual power centers. Now, in order to understand why Sayyid brothers had such an influence, now Sayyid will also be facing the same fate like Zulfikar. Everyone will meet the same end, right? So, why it will happen? And for this, we need to understand the ethno-lineage of the Mughal administration. Okay, the nobles, ethno-religious lineage of the Mughal administrators, the nobles actually. So let us just write small paragraph, change the parent right. Write like this, that the ethnic background or lineage was the most important factor. The ethnic background or lineage was the most important factor in the Mughal administration. In the Mughal administration. Mughal aristocracy you understand what is aristocracy? Anyone? What? That is the figurative meaning. Aristocracy is actually nobles, the group of nobles. Of course, elites will always be there. Whosoever is aristocrat will be an elite. The nobles, the mantris. Mughal aristocracy was divided. In various ethno-religious groups. Various ethno-religious groups. The Turanis were the most powerful. Turani and Iranis were also there. Turanis and Iranis were the most powerful group of nobles. Now, who were Turanis? They were the Turks. They were Persians. Okay? The Turks and the Persians. Persians were there, then people from Afghanistan were also here. These two groups were the Irani group, the Afghans and the Persians. Now, again, they were in front of Turani, you can write Sunni. They were Sunni Muslims. They were Sunni. They were mostly Shia. How many of you don't know the story? Does sound great. I think I've told this in one of my online classes. Okay, a very quick review of Shia and Sunni. The Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, died in 632 CE at Medina. He was born in Makkah. In 622 CE, he migrated to Medina. That is when the Hijrat, the Islamic calendar, the Hijri starts. It's a lunar calendar. You know what is a lunar calendar? Based on the movement of moon and earth. And the Hindu calendar is? Come on. Which one? The name of the Hindu calendar? Shak Samvat. It was brought by? Yes, the oldest one is Vikram Samvat. That we follow right now is Shak Samvat. And 52 CE, no, first century CE was brought. Again, that is also based on the lunar calculation. The official calendar is the Gregorian calendar, based on the movement of sun. Sun actually does not move. That's why, according to English calendar, the festivals will be same. But Diwali you see sometimes in October, sometimes in November, because both sun and moon are moving. Right? So this is when the 10 years before the Hijri started. So he died in Medina and he nominated his son-in-law Ali as the next successor. Okay, but people of Medina actually elected Abu Bakr as the successor. So he was nominated by none other than Muhammad as the successor, and he was elected by people of Medina. So there was a war. Followers of Ali were called Shiane Ali. Shiane Ali or Shias, and Abu Bakr's followers became Sunni. Okay. Then a very big fight happened between these two, the Battle of Karbala, one of the bloodiest battles in the history of Islam, where Hussain was killed. Hussain was related to Ali. So Shia Muslims mourn the death of Hussain on Muharram. They beat themselves. They say, Ha Hussain, right? Sunnis will never beat. Sunnis do not mourn on Muharram. Shias do. So this is actually a 1400-year-old sectarian conflict. Saudi Arabia is bombing Yemen for the past 3 years. Iran and Yemen are three Shia majority countries in the world. Iran and Yemen. Amongst Muslims, more than 85% are Sunnis, hardly 10 to 15% are Shia. Goes same in India, maybe 80 to 85% are Sunnis. Okay? So this is actually a 1400-year-old ethnic conflict. When in paper 3 you will study internal security, there was one question in 2016 about the rise of Islamic State in your exam. So in order to understand how Islamic State came, you need to be aware of this ethnic sectarian conflict of the Islamic world. IS is following the same line. They are also killing the Shia. Okay? Do you remember the story then? All of you now know about the ethnic conflict, the Shia and Sunni part? Okay. Now the second part here, there is this word which is used, Sheikh Zada. Second group, Sheikh Zadas. They were kind of Indian Muslims. Then there were Hindus. Okay. Mostly the Rajputs and Marathas. Most of them sided with the Sheikh Zada. Okay. They were kind of naturally supporting each other for most of the time. There have been aberrations, we are not going into that. These people looked down upon these people. Okay, converted. Okay. This is what they used to call that you guys are converted Muslims. We are the originals. Direct descendant. Okay, the Ansaris, the Sheikhs, the Qurayshis. Qurayshis are claiming to be the direct descendant of Prophet Muhammad. And they look down upon the Indian Muslims. That we converted your forefathers 300, 400 years back. And of course they were the Kafirs who were with the Mughals because of political administrative needs, requirements. Okay. So these two groups, second and third, were considered inferior by the first group of Turani and the Iranis, who considered themselves to be the original Muslims. Right? Sayyid brothers were here. Correct. Now you see something. Sayyid brothers made Farrukhsiyar king after defeating Zahandar and Zulfikar. Correct. Now they will follow a very more liberal policies. So these group will turn against. Islam खतरे में आ रहा है. That was actually a political excuse because इन लोगों की चल नहीं रही थी. जब नहीं चल रही है तो इस्लाम खतरे में आ गया. And Sayyid brothers are with the Kafirs. They are giving privileges to Rajputs and Marathas. और फारुखसियार मैंने आपको बताया ना किस तरह का बंदा था. Top grade idiot. Now these top grade idiots can be easily molded. Okay, चार बार उनको कुछ बोलो वो बिलीव करते हैं. तो तुरानी और ईरानी बार आके फारुखसियार को बोलते देखो देखो क्या कर रहा है. Look at him. He's with the Kafirs. You are a puppet. They are the actual kingmakers. फारुखसियार को भी लगा कि यार they are right. These people are actually undermining my authority. So let me try to fix them. Now Sayyid brothers were too smart to be fixed by someone like Farrukhsiyar. So they fixed Farrukhsiyar. Okay, they fixed Farrukhsiyar. They killed Farrukhsiyar. But how? He's feeling so bad. Okay. Sayyid brothers killed Farrukhsiyar and brought another puppet. Another puppet, same Mughal prince. देखो Mughal lineage तो है. The Timurid bloodline is almost there. One after the other, the kings are being made by princes are being turned into kings by people like Zulfikar and Sayyids. Right? Now another this puppet comes. And these Turanis and Iranis, they label Sayyid brothers as Namak Haram. So, who is a Namak Haram? Don't know. Traitors. Those who patent the salt is given a very high priority. Trying food without salt, you will know. Okay. So it's actually a parameter. Salt is said to be the parameter of honesty and loyalty. They alleged Farrukhsiyar to be Namak Haram. And then Farrukhsiyar will also, sorry, not Farrukhsiyar, they alleged Sayyid brothers to be Namak Haram who have killed their king, Farrukhsiyar. Now Sayyid brothers will also be killed. And thus, any hope of revival of Mughal Empire will also be killed. Post Sayyid brothers, just a matter of time that Mughal will be took. They were the last hope of a drowning empire. यहाँ तक कोई दिक्कत किसी को? कहानी समझ में आ गई ना? अब जो लिखोगे वो समझ में आएगा. राइट? अच्छा, इसमें एक और आ गया. Aurangzeb conquered two western parts, Golconda and Bijapur. So another nobility emerged, the Deccan Charters. Deccanese. You can write post Aurangzeb's conquest of Golconda and Bijapur. The administrators are absorbed into administration. The military generals into military. Of course, they are given lower rank. Right? So they were also brought into administration. So here comes the fourth faction. ये तीन कम थे, कौन अब? Please write this. Post Aurangzeb's conquest of Golconda and Bijapur. In 1685 he conquered Golconda and 1689 he conquered Bijapur. Now change the paradigm. Farooq Shia was inept ruler. INEPT, inept ruler. INEPT. It means idiot. Sayyid brothers realized, unworthy to be precise, not idiot. Sayyid brothers realized that if the empire has to be safeguarded, then they have to take the control in their hands. They have to take the control in their hands. Farooq Shia was killed in 1719. In 1719, and Sayyid brothers quickly brought two young princes, Rafiud Tarzan and Rafiud Tola. He was also known as Shah Jahan II. Both of them died within months. Both of them died within months. इनको लाया कि अब इनको किसी को किंग बनाया जाएगा, नेक्स्ट को कुछ और, दोनों भी करते हैं. Finally, Roshan Akhtar son of Jahan Shah. Was Jahan Shah, you remember? Son of Muslim or? Yes. So finally he was portrayed Roshan was the name. Roshan Akhtar, son of Jahan Shah the fourth, Jahan Shah I. But princes were always there, some post or the other. See, try to understand. Red Fort you have seen? Anyone who has been to Red Fort? Did you saw it Italy? I'm sure you would not have been able to see anything else on that day. Right? On that day when you went to Red Fort, you wouldn't have gone to any other place. Because it takes one day to visit it, right? And this, when half of it is occupied by the Indian army, there are places where you cannot go in Red Fort because army has its own establishment over there. The president, the prime minister, 26 January, 15 August. So army maintains a significant part. Half the Red Fort you will visit in one day. Now imagine the entire Red Fort under the Mughal glory. Can you wake up? Sit. Sleeping? No, behind you. No, meditating. So, at that time, such an enormous facade was there, and then all these things were happening inside the campus, the premises of Red Fort. So, one prince somewhere he was involved in some capacity, he was related to the administration because it was a mega event thing, not one like currently we have a centralized or a decentralized system where everything is very, very streamlined. No. Do not compare it with modern streamlined administration. Very hotpots was happening. So it was not like everyone was killed at once. No. Somewhere they were involved, some posts they had, some administrative matters they looked into. Because after all, they were also from the same lineage, they were in lineage. So now, this guy becomes the king. Okay? Full stop you write, Roshan Akhtar takes the title Mohammad Shah. Okay? Who brought him? Sayyid brothers. Before him, I think 1 hour of class has happened. Right? You can do it. How much pages you have written? 2 pages. Do you realize the amount of MCQs that can be framed from these 2 pages? कितना परमुटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन हो जाएगा इस 2 पेज में, समझ रहे हो? कितने आ गए हैं कैरेक्टर्स, इस दोनों के बारे में हर किताब में लिखा भी नहीं है। तो एक MCQ क्यों नहीं बन जाएगा? Why every time UPSC will ask for the same set of questions? Not like that. And in history, people take history for granted because history actually does not change. You don't have to read newspaper for history, which you certainly have to do for your economics, your international relations, some part of polity as well, the bills that have been passed, the judgments that have been given by the court, but not for history. So history, whatever you have written, and whatever content you have, that's it. So that content has to be all inclusive. Nothing new is going to come. Everything has happened. Right? हो चुका है, कुछ नया नहीं हो सकता है. तो एक लोग थोड़ा attempt ऐसा करते हैं that will make it such an enriched notes that nothing comes out of it. Okay? And you are supposed to read no other material. अगर बहुत मन करे तो स्पेक्ट्रम पढ़ लेना बस, उसके भी फर्स्ट 2 चैप्टर्स प्लीज छोड़ देना और लास्ट चैप्टर भी skip the first 2 chapters of spectrum and the last if at all you are willing to read it. You have already done that? Thank you. Perils of being intelligent enough like Sayyid brother and not like Farooq Sian. The first 2 chapters are about historiography. They never ask you question on history. And Spectrum has done a very bad coverage of history. एक तो उसको पढ़ना नहीं है, उस पर उस किताब में बिल्कुल पढ़ने तरीके से लिखा है. Read that. Third 2 and the last chapter also. Last chapter is about post-independent consolidation. And you don't study from Spectrum. Spectrum has its own utility. Utilize that. That's why you asked that question to me, right? There are several books. I mean, cannot compile them at once. One of them, the most authentic sources in history. Like, do you know the first book of history? Kalhans Raj Tarangini. Very good. Where did you read that? Kalhans Raj Tarangini, Raj Tarangini. The first book of history is Chronicles of Kings of Kashmir. Kalhan was a historian in 12th century. So he wrote a book, Raj Tarangini. The book is still there, translated in all major languages. Right? Now, from there, before Raj Tarangini, it is said to be mythology. No historic account is present. Now, what about books like Arthashastra and Indica? They do not tell us history. We have to extract history out of it. Roman Greek historians, Justin, Pliny, Strabo, Plutarch, all these people have not exclusively written on history. We need to extract history. Right? When you read Arthashastra of Chanakya, there you will come across the Mughal administrative structure, the theory of Sultan state. In Indica, you will see, written by Megasthenes, that how the society was divided into 7 classes. Okay? During Gupta era, Buddha Charitra, first biography of Buddha, Ashok Ghosh wrote it. Now there you will see the Gupta administration, a passing reference made to the Gupta administration. Okay? For the first time, history was presented as we know today in Raj Tarangini. Then Colonel James Todd wrote a magnus opus, Annals and Antiquities of Rajasthan. Okay, there he has stressed a lot about the Rajput history, the Mughal history, all very well presented. That is considered very important source. Babar Nama, the autobiography of Babar, it has been translated into 30 languages. Tuzuke Babari it is called. Okay, Akbar was illiterate. Then Jahangir has written Shah Jahan, Court Chronicles, Abu Fazal. All these people have given a very, rich account of Mughal administration. There are two thoughts over here. One, the court historian has written, the other a neutral historian has written. And history is not arrived by what is written at one source. Several sources are matched. So if you read the Buddhist accounts of Ashoka, they will tell you that Ashoka killed his 99 brothers and dumped them at a place, it's still there, Kadambwa and Jagarpatna mein, dumped the bodies into this well. But no other source mentions the same. So, contemporary historians believe that Buddhists tried to, attribute certain dates to themselves in order to demonize Ashoka. That what a demon he was when he was a chef, and what a noble soul he became when he became Buddhist. No other source mentions that. So when multiple sources say the same thing, then we take it to be history. Understood? It is all guesswork. There is no scientific method in history. Let me show this to you. If you read Vedas, history cannot tell us which Veda is earliest. There is no historic proof that can tell you Rig Veda is the earliest of the 4 Vedas. But we believe it in history. Why? We see the names of the towns. And it is like this word is there in this era, so this thing must have happened. I see a major flaw in this. It is as good as saying Rajiv Gandhi was Gautam Buddha because Rajiv Gandhi's surname is Rahul. Gautam Buddha's surname was Rahul. So Rajiv is equal to Gautam Buddha. This is how history is arrived at. This is the flaw that I am telling you as it is. ये तो तब भी बहुत रिसेंट सोर्स है, इनके बारे में तो पता है कि इस दिन इस तारीख को बैटल ऑफ पानीपत हुआ था 5 में, फिर एक्यूरेसी पता है। things are heavily matched. There are several historians who have talked at length about these things. Okay, problem है पुराने वाले में. When Babar is saying something and Irfan Habib is saying the other thing. Babar says in his Tuduke Babri that wherever he went, he killed people, he defeated people and made a mountain out of the heads. He used to cut the heads and make mountains out of it. This is what he writes in Tuduke Babri. Irfan Habib says that Mughals were generous. Babar was a very rebel man, a very good king and all. Habib knows about Babar more than Babar. These are very modern sources. With accuracy they are mentioned. That has happened. Several Europeans have written, Indians have written. Chronicles are still there. The accounts were maintained, right? So people have got hold of that account. English got hold of that account. Indians got hold of that account. Many Europeans got it. And then they have been translated into various languages. The Farman of Aurangzeb is still there. Of course, it is written in, I guess, Arabic. People know Arabic now. Okay. And modern times, it's not like that one or two books. Like Babarnama, you have what Babar writes. But Aurangzeb has not written any autobiography. Both chronicles have given certain administrative details. Everything currently the president or the prime minister writes to any state government is recorded. You know this. Each and every word of Supreme Court and High Courts are recorded. So maybe 100 to 200 years down the lane, these things will be analyzed. Right? Are you understanding it? Then people will see, oh, this is what was happening in 2020. Right? This is how we study Mughals, especially the later Mughals. There are many administrative, regulative details which everyone, the historians, the chroniclers, the archaeologists, the mythologists have access to, and they analyze it. They are doing a daily job. They were doing a daily job. We learn history from that. Okay? What was the last time you wrote? Mohammad Shah. He took the title Mohammad Shah. Okay. Now again, same Sayyid brothers are here, and you know they were following a policy of religious tolerance. Because Sayyid brothers continued. Sayyid brothers continued to follow the policy of religious tolerance. Many Hindus were brought into the Mughal administration. Many Hindus were brought into the Mughal administration. They made an alliance with the Jat king Churaman. Rajput and Marathas were already in the court. He was a Jat. Jat, you understand? You have heard about Jats? Currently, Western UP, Haryana, Rajasthan, they are a very dominant group. So, the king was actually Chudaman. Okay. Now, in medieval era, they have fought very fiercely, very formidable warriors they were supposed to be. So they also made an alliance with the Thats. Now Sahu, you know, Sahu is grandson of Shivaji. Shivaji. Next, you know, his son was Sambhaji. You know what Aurangzeb did to Sambhaji? His skin was peeled off. He was blinded. इसकी आंखें फोड़ी गई थी, इसकी स्किन उतार दी गई, लाइट. And his son was Sahu. He was jailed by Aurangzeb, but then he was set free. Aurangzeb did not do anything, but he was skinned alive. Of course, Aurangzeb never could got hold of Shivaji. So Sahu was granted the Marathas and right to collect chaur. For the moment, there are two terms, chaur and Sardeshmukhi, two types of tax that Marathas used to collect, which you will learn in your medieval history. For the time, you just 1/4 of revenue. Sahu was given Shivaji's Swaraj. Swaraj was actually Shivaji talked about a Hindu Padshah. He assumed the title of Chhatrapati. Right? So he was saying that okay, whatever Shivaji forgot, you are the ruler. You can collect chaur and Sardeshmukhi in six Deccan provinces. Okay, so you can kind of collect the tax from six of the Deccan provinces. You will have Shivaji Swaraj. Functional autonomy given to the grandson of Shivaji by the Mughals. Right? So, until now, how do you see Sayyid brothers? They are trying their best. Sayyid brothers are trying their best to follow religious tolerance. Correct? They are trying to be as accommodative as they could. Rajputs are already there. Remember the title and the post given to kings of Amber and Malwa? Mirza Raja Jai Singh and Maharaj, governor of Gujarat. Then they are including Maratha also. They are making alliance with Jat also. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Right? But this thing will not be liked. And moreover, they were Sheikhzadas, the Indian Muslims. So the Irani and Turanis are like these Sheikhzadas were governors. And they will call the shots. We are the real. Okay? And they started again the same thing they were doing. Now who is the king now? Answer? Muhammad Shah. Now already there is a perception that they have killed their king. Which king? Farooq Shah. So they were labeled as Namak Haram. Now एक तो नमक हराम है, ऊपर से काफिरों का साथ दे रहे हैं, इस्लाम को अंडरमाइन कर रहे हैं, तो मोहम्मद शाह को भी कान भरा था। See, these are not your well-wishers. They will destroy the Mughal Empire. They are against Islam. They have already killed the king. They are making so much of an एक काफिर नहीं टाइप टाइप के काफिर से मराठा जाट सरदार सबके साथ. So Muhammad Shah is like, yes, these guys are dangerous. They need to be fixed. This is the one. Sayyid brothers could not yield. Could not yield the desired results. Could not why he or could not give the desired results because of the constant rivalry, and conspiracies. The hostile nobles united themselves. The hostile nobles united themselves under the leadership of Nizamul Mulk. Bracket में लिखो Deccan. Sayyid brothers were labeled as traitors and anti-Islam. Sayyid brothers were labeled as traitors and anti-Islam. Who is the king? Muhammad Shah. Now Muhammad Shah also was like that these people interfered too much. No king will like. Who made Akbar king? Bayram Khan. Akbar was 14-year-old. 14 साल एज के Akbar थी. He was made king by Bayram Khan. और जब बादशाह सलामत थोड़े जवान हुए, then Akbar became 24-25-year-old. Bayram Khan still used to advise him to do this. Akbar was irritated. Now I am not a 14-year-old. I am a 24-year-old guy. So he said, go to Hajj. Retire. Go to Hajj means you retire. So Bayram Khan was hurt. He said, okay, now there is nothing left for me, I will go to Hajj. He was going to Hajj, he was killed by. Okay. So no one likes when they are grown up, and you will not like if your parents advise you every time how to do this and that. Right? So same thing was with Muhammad Shah, same thing with Akbar. So Muhammad Shah also wanted to get rid of these Sayyid brothers. He desperately wanted to get rid of them. Okay, right? This Muhammad Shah also wanted to get rid of Sayyid brothers. Hussain Ali was killed in 1720 and Abdullah Khan in 1722. He was the man behind it. Of course, the nobles killed them, but it was done at the behest of the emperor. Okay. Now he ruled for a long time. Muhammad Shah ruled for a very long time. So Muhammad Shah had actually good time to save the empire. It was not like some 2-3 years, see how many years he is doing. 30 years, right? 30 years is a long time. Now, but again, he was not having the money. Only 2 people were hired, 3 people, 2 Sayyid brothers and Zulfikar. Zulfikar killed by Sayyid, Sayyid killed by the remaining people. So there is no hope of any revival of the Mughals. Okay, now his wazir, right? The wazir Muhammad Amin Khan. Was assisting Muhammad Shah. And after his death, he was wazir. So he died after 2-3 years. Nizamul Mulk became the wazir. After his death, Nizamul Mulk became the wazir. When he is becoming wazir, of course he will become wazir when the old wazir will die. The earlier one. So Nizamul Mulk became. So he tried to advise. He tried to pour some sense into his head. Do this, do that, let us do that, let us try to do whatever administratively was feasible. Whatever a king should do. Wazir will advise him. But this guy was, he was a type of his own. I mean, there is no other Muhammad Shah again. Right? You can compare. Have you heard about Nawab Wajid Ali Shah? Another interesting character he is. So, he is a very late entry. We'll discuss about him. So, Muhammad Shah in Iran, dance, women, wine, this was his motivation. Okay. So he did not pay advice to anything. So Nizamul Mulk, the wazir, realized that Mughals are damaged beyond repairs. Mughals cannot be saved now. He realized. So now what he does, he will become Atmanirbhar. He will say that now I will do my own things. I have nothing to do with Delhi Red Fort. Okay? So now the actual disintegration will start. Correct? He will become on his own more of a sovereign king. Not literally but figuratively. Again, that transmission will happen after few years. He will become an independent, autonomous type of ruler. But he will still affiliate himself with the Red Fort. Few years down the line, people will stop doing that. Then we don't know who is in Delhi. We are not a part of Delhi. We are not a part of Red Fort. We are not their fiduciaries. We are independent. That will happen again after few years. Any question anyone has? Read and see. Any line that you do not understand. I think you have written 3 pages, right? There is a huge potential in these 3 pages. You need to revise them a lot. You need to familiarize yourself with all these interesting characters. who came when, who was helping whom, who was against whom, who succeeded whom. This is how questions are asked in your exam. Actually a post, Nizam ul Mulk, Nizam of the Mulk. इसका नाम नहीं पूछा आपने? अरे आपके स्टेट का फाउंडर है भाई, आप जब बैठे हैं. You know the founder of Hyderabad? You know? Genghis Khan. अब ये हट हो जाएगा, टूट जाएगा, तो ये आपका शहर बना देगा. Genghis Khan will found the state of Hyderabad. Put down the name of the government and the year in which he founded Hyderabad. And why? Because he was frustrated with it. He was a Turani. See, Sayyid Qureshi, and there are more Ansaris, Afjal, Arjal. Now you cannot differentiate with it. That time there still was some element of Aztecian purity. Of course, it's a mixed race. No race is available in the pure form. Okay, everything is mixed. Only the Jarawa tribes of Andaman are pure, right? Out of them, so much of interreligious and intercaste marriages have happened. How can anyone claim to be pure? That I am a pure Aryan, or someone here saying I am a pure Dravidian? I mean, how? Have you met the DNA? The DNA is same. Do you know this? Entire Indian subcontinent, more than 95% DNA is same. Whether they are in Pakistan or Bangladesh, whether they are Muslim, Hindus or any other religious followers, which means the roots are same. Right? All these divisions have happened over a lot of period of time after too much of complexity. That's all. नहीं समझ आया? कौन बता सकता है? Darul Harb and Darul Islam. This was the policy of Aurangzeb. Darul Harb, India is, we saw India as Darul Harb. Darul Harb is the land of the infidels, the land of the kafirs, the land of non-believers, which has to be turned into Darul Islam, the land of believers, where everyone follows Islam or obeys the Sharia law. Whether you follow or you obey the law. This policy was introduced long back. When the first Islamic invasion happened from this guy, Muhammad bin Qasim. Okay, Aurangzeb as king tried to endorse it. Aurangzeb was under the influence of ulemas, rigid, conservative, rabid Sunni ulemas. Okay. This was his policy of the. This is what Bipin Chandra writes in Modern India. NCERT has written this. बिपिन चंद्र ने ऐसी बात बोल दी है, मैं आपको श्योर कर रहा हूँ कि इससे कहीं ज्यादा ही रहा होगा. बिपिन चंद्र इज फॉलोइंग अ वेरी मॉडरेट लाइन, और ये मॉडरेट, दिस इज वन ऑफ द मॉडरेट एक्सप्रेशन. डिटेल में जाएंगे तो पता नहीं कितने करोड़ खुद जाएंगे. आया समझ में? So now Hyderabad has been formed. Three independent states. I told you yesterday. Hyderabad, why we are calling them independent states? They were earlier part of Mughal Empire. Now they have become independent. Right? So right, give the title Hyderabad. Right? Actually, combine. Jinn Kulitz Khan, Nizamul Mulk, right the year 1724. इसको बाद में रखेंगे. अरे आपने शेयर करा. Normally I do not start with Hyderabad, but since I am in Hyderabad, let us take the state of Hyderabad first. Now to write Mubarak Khan. Mubarak Khan, the Mughal governor of Deccan. Mubarak Khan, the Mughal governor of Deccan, was ruling in Hyderabad. Mubarak Khan, the Mughal governor of Deccan, was ruling in Hyderabad. The actual independence of Hyderabad, the actual independence of Hyderabad, independence of Hyderabad. You see, this guy was already there as a Mughal governor, and he was also more or less independent. But then comes Jinn Kulitz Khan and says, "You go. Now this is an independent state. Okay, I'll perform as per my own wish. I will have no Mughal governor here. I am the one." Okay. Actual independence will come from this year. 1724, Jinn Kulitz Khan is deposing him. 24, but it will take 1740 when Nizam will go away. The Nizam of Hyderabad will go. Then no one will be able to control. By 1740, because no. When the Nizam left Hyderabad, by 1748, state of Hyderabad was under Mughal control only symbolically. only symbolically. Although the coins were still minted on Mughal symbols. See, he is not minting his own coin. The currency is of Mughals. And the khutbah, how many of you know khutbah? See, khutbah, Friday, you know, there is a special prayer in mosque, azan, what do you call Jummah. Right? So, what these kings used to do, even in the Delhi Sultanate, earlier, see, Abu Bakr, remember this name? The one heading the Sunni faction, he is also the first candidate. Khalifa, which the Turkey president is trying to become now. So, he is the first candidate. Caliph is what? Caliph is the messenger. Prophet Muhammad was the prophet. The prayer that they say, the La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. What does that mean? First line means, there is no God but only Allah. Second line means, Muhammad is his last messenger. Unless you agree to these two lines, you are not a Muslim. Okay? So, caliphs are not the messenger because Muhammadur Rasulullah. There cannot be any further messenger than Prophet himself. There is no prophet after Muhammad. They accept Moses. They accept Jesus. Musa and Isa they call it. Now Christians believe Jesus is the son of God. Muslims believe no, he is the messenger, he is not son. And the last one is the most updated one, the latest one, Muhammad. Right? So they are not messengers. They are just the representatives. So now you see the Turks have come to India. All your Gori and Gajni and Kutubuddin and Balban and Iltutmish, Razia Sultana, the first female who handled Delhi long before Sheela Dikshit. So how did they claim that they are the ones? By making the local mosque read khutbah on their name. Khutbah is the Friday prayer, the Jummah. So that was read on the name of the king. Again the divine right theory coming into play. That I have been sent by Allah to rule. The masjids are reading khutbah on my name. So this rule land belongs to me as dictated by the Almighty Allah. So one thing which they did was to make the local mosque read khutbah of theirs. It was practiced by the Sultanate. Everything you will study details in your medieval history. Mughals carried it forward because this was such a convenient practice. Why not make the mosque read khutbah in the name of the king? Everyone accepts it. So even when Hyderabad was formed, Chief Kiranj Khan, the Nizamul-Mulk, deposed of Mubarak Khan, and even in 1748, the coins minted were on the Mughal symbols, and khutbah was read by the Mughal king, on the name of the Mughal king, not on the name of the ruler of Hyderabad. Okay, khutbah you understood? ये टर्म अगर एग्जाम में आएगा तो समझ लो ना खुतबा क्या होता है. Any questions? Khutbah is a special prayer said in the mosque. Prayer in the mosque, usually on Friday, on the day of Jummah. Now, local kings, the kings who came from far away places like Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, Arabia, they seek the sanction from people who they were ruling. Why will anyone obey the Mughal king? He needs sanction of his own people, right? And there is a diverse group of people assisting him. So he made the local boss to lead khutbah on his name. In the name of the king, the khutbah is being read. Which means he's sent by God to do. This was a ploy, this was actually a technique used by the king to sanction, to legitimize their rule. Okay. Any question here? Khutbah? We are meeting after 10 minutes.